Hello and welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us here today on Prosper with Sonia Clark, and I've got a fabulous, wonderful, lovely guest to be able to bring you lots of insight and information. Her name is Kimberly Spencer. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you so much for having me, Sonia. I am so excited to be here.
Yay. Oh, look, it's lovely having you here. And guess what, listeners and some viewers there, that Kimberly has been stranded here in Australia. We've got her here. If only she could have been stranded here a little bit longer in Melbourne. She ended up down or up in the Gold Coast there and has a bit more sunshine where she is than what we do typically here in Australia. Being caught over here in the whole corona lockdown thing. But so she's having an extended holiday. Isn't that lovely?
And I am enjoying it immensely. While quarantine is not that much, like quarantine life is not that different than my regular life, because having owned a virtual business for now, totally virtual for now 2 years, and grown it while growing and raising my son and working from home with my husband, and like that's nothing new.
Yes,
So I'm like, the only thing different is a location and the fact that we have a beach a block away, so that I get to take beautiful beach trips like I did this morning.
Being stuck next to a beach.
Bummer.
A lovely beach, mind you. Yes. Well, listeners, let me tell you a little bit about Kimberly here. So, oh my goodness, she has an amazing background, very, very colourful. So she will be able to give a lot of people a huge amount of depth and breadth of information to be able to help them as an individual, personally and both professionally. She's an award winner, high performance coach and trainer. She's Amazon bestseller co-author. She's a motivational speaker, a 6-time Health Activist Award nominee. She's co-written a film called Bro, and Miss Congeniality awards in her background. You know, movies are really coming to mind here in my head.
Right?
Featured on the CW, ESPN and NPR and in Thrive Global, Girls Life and Forbes, background in Pilates and business ownership. Oh, goodness. And look, the list goes on. So you could all go and check out her bio on the website there. So, Kimberly, would you like to give a little bit more of a story of context about who you are and where you're at with what you're doing as a high performance coach?
Yeah. So I look at my life now and it makes so much sense. But when I was in the journey of a decade of switching multiple careers and having multiple different businesses, it didn't make sense as to like how it was all going to fit in together. But now I look back, I'm like, oh, of course, going from screenwriting to owning a Pilates studio to owning an e-commerce company. Yeah, that's just a natural progression, right? Really, it started out because I've always wanted to work in Hollywood. That was always my jam. That was always my dream. But really looking at the intention behind that was because I thought by being an actress and a screenwriter in Hollywood, I thought that would give me the income, for one, because the only people I knew who were like multimillionaires were, Jennifer Lawrence and Anne Hathaway, people were celebrities.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have any frame of reference. And so I thought that being in Hollywood would give me the income, the impact, and essentially the voice that I wanted to have, and to be able to help people and help transform their stories. And I've always been a storyteller. Like when I was a kid, I used to wrangle all the neighborhood kids into creating these like epic plays where then I would sell my products and services at the door to their parents, and I would make the parents stay for the show. So like I look back and it's not that different than what I do now. Except for the parents are the ones that I'm coaching. And so I went from being a screenwriter in Hollywood, and I got this opportunity to have the film Bro, to write it, I wrote it with the director, Nick Perrotta, and I had this amazing opportunity. I was so excited. It was a dream come true. I was writing a feature film. I was also teaching Pilates, which also was super fulfilling, because sometimes when you first start out in Hollywood, you need a side hustle. And I didn't want to be waitressing. I wanted to do something that was actually of service. And I also found that if I did something that I could work out, I would essentially be helping my body. And Pilates was the one form of exercise that really just made me feel so good. And within 6 months, I just had that curiosity like hit of like, I have to teach this. Like, I have to teach this. And so I went and I got certified. I was at this first studio that I went to and worked at, I was the youngest and highest paid instructor and most fully booked, because I dove fully in and was totally authentic with all my clients, saying like, I have not always loved exercise, but this is a form of exercise that I absolutely love, and I will kick your butt. And I found that I loved challenging people into their highest and best, mostly into like their highest and best, like in 10 more sets of abs, because that was just my jam. So I was doing both, and I felt like so fulfilled doing both, but I never knew how I could combine the two. And once the film was released, and I had the experience, because when you write a movie, you get extra tickets to the premiere. And I went to the premiere and I was doling out tickets like candy to like anyone who wanted it. And 2 weeks later, one of the friends of a friend the son of a friend who came with one of my tickets,
Right.
I found out through my friend that she texted me and she said, I want to let you know your film changed this kid's life. And I said, what do you mean? She said, he was following the same path as the kid in the movie. Basically, he was wanting to be a part of the cool crowd. So he started to hang out and do a lot of partying and started to do drugs. And we've all had that experience about wanting to be a part of the cool crowd. And so I was there, and she texted me, and I said, that's what I want to do. I said, I want to transform people's stories. And I didn't know how. And at the same time, I was offered an opportunity to be involved with this e-commerce company. And I eventually became the president of this e-commerce company and taking this backstretching device to market. And I was so excited. I said, okay, this may be how I transform people's stories. I'll transform people's stories about their back pain. Because I'd already spent like 8 years by then rehabilitating people's backs. I'd helped my dad go through 2 spine surgeries, like with rehabilitation. So I understood back pain. Or at least I thought I did, to the level that now what I know with adding the subconscious mind and how the body and the mind are so intimately tied, that just like opened the floodgates of change for me. But I was working in this e-commerce company, and for 2 years, like, we were hustling getting this product out there. And we were like, I pitched it to the first round of Shark Tank auditions. We got it into New York City Times Square on one of those giant billboard things.
Cool.
And it was an amazing experience. And 3 months before I was supposed to get married in 2014, my business partner calls me up. We were just about to get angel investors. We're looking at crowdfunding campaigns to bring in some investment capital. And he's like, I want you out. And I was like, what? And so for 3 months, when I'm supposed to be planning my wedding and trying on cake and like dresses and things like that, I'm dealing with my first round ever of dealing with lawyers and all that stuff that's involved with a buyout and just what I'd never wish legal issues with anybody, not even on my worst enemy. I don't even think I have a worst enemy, but it just, that was such a trying period. And never before in my life had I had my integrity called into check. Have I had my reputation or my capability called into check. And it caused me to doubt a lot. And I'd never had crippling doubt before. I had always been very audacious with making my ask, which I think is why it allowed me to get my first feature film, which is why I became president of this e-commerce company, which is why I started my own Pilates studio. Like, I was always very audacious with, like, I wanted something, I would jump all in 100%. I would just be in. But then after experiencing 3 months of this barrage of doubt and questioning, I was sitting on my honeymoon and I was like, what am I going to do? And that was when I had the idea for Crown Yourself. And I said, I knew I loved pageants because I'd been in pageants since I was 15. I loved crowns. I loved girly things. I loved challenging people. I loved health. I'd figured out the relationship thing. I'd done business. And I said, it all works together. It's all combined. It's this holistic thing. And I jumped off the couch and I said, Crown Yourself. And my husband's like, what's that? I was like, I don't know. It's like, it's a thing. It's like coaching. It's like blog. I said, I'm not sure what it is. I had no clarity back then. And I also had doubt. A combination of lack of clarity with crippling doubt causes a lot of what I call productive procrastination. So it's the beginning stages of entrepreneurship when you're like doing things, but they're not really the needle movers, where you think you need a website, or like maybe you need like some blogging, or maybe you need like to post on social media all the time, but none of that is actually getting you money coming in, like not necessarily. And it's one of the biggest myths that I crush with entrepreneurs. They're like, wait, I have to wait until my website. I have to update my website before I start promoting myself. I'm like, no. I said, are you a freaking web designer? Unless you're a web designer or a graphic designer, like there's no need to like shift and change your website, because your website like it's showing you, but that can evolve. Your website is it's a living, breathing thing that's going to evolve as you do. I said, you don't need a website to have a business. You need clients, you need customers. So go out and you need a sales process. But I didn't know that. I knew some of that, but I was so scared to go out there and put myself out there that I went back into teaching Pilates. I went back to my Pilates studio. I had so much fear and doubt in me with even owning my Pilates studio, my private Pilates studio that I'd had for like 3-4 years by then, that I even took a side job working for someone else's studio because I didn't trust myself that much as a business owner. Like that was a level of crippling doubt that I have. So now when I have clients come to me where they're like, I'm not sure, is this a viable business opportunity? Is this something that could actually make money? Like I know from that empathetic place where they're coming from because I've been there. And so I went back and I started teaching, but I just was finding myself so unfulfilled. And Pilates was never really supposed to be my main thing. And it was always supposed to be the side hustle. It was always supposed to be the thing that was bringing in income until the main thing took off. And for me, that was a period where I found myself in a mindset of blame and complaining and massive guilt and shame. And it took me getting pregnant for me to realize, holy moly, I do not love the person that I am being. Like, who is this person? I've never been this like complainy, blamey. And I mean, I had some stuff go down in my childhood, but like at the same time, I never had that. Like I had to reprogram that stuff with reprogramming my mindset from 10 years of bulimia, which is where I put the complaining and the blaming in that area. But it repeated itself into my business. And that's the thing, is how you do everything is how you do everything. And if you don't handle all of the subconscious stuff that's there, it'll shift forms into a relationship or into business or into your finances. And that's what I found, was that space that I was in was just like, I wasn't a fan of who I was. And I found out I was pregnant at the same time. And I said, this is not going to be the mother of my child. This person that I am is not going to be the mother of my child. So I immediately, within like a week of finding out I was pregnant, I signed up for my NLP certification, for my first coach, for training and certification in timeline therapy and hypnosis. I knew that I had to get my mind shifted. I knew that had to shift. I just didn't know how. And I knew also that I had done it before, because I did it with bulimia. I did it with transforming my identity from being somebody who is vomiting up her food all the time to somebody who absolutely loves her body, like loves what it can do, loves, like, there is not a single cell in me that looks back on that time in my life. And I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, poor girl. I want to give her a hug, where there's nothing that identifies with that. And it's because I changed my identity. So I knew on a subconscious level that I needed to change my identity with how I was showing up as a business owner. And within like a month, it was like a month or two of transforming my mindset, of first investing in myself and investing in a coach and investing in someone to give me some perspective, because that's what coaching is. It gives you perspective that you may not be able to find on your own, because you as the quarterback in your life cannot see all the players. So a coach on the sideline is watching all the players and watching what all the other players are doing and how they're being, and then gives the feedback. And so that's what my coach did for me. And within a few months, I went from like making $100 a month in my business, and then making $1,000 a month, and then 2,000, and then 5,000, and then 10,000, and then it went up from there. And so, but that's like, it happened fast because I had somebody offering me perspective. And I think sometimes, especially as business owners, we can get stuck in this like blinders of like, almost like a horse in a horse race, where they have those blinders on, where they can't see, and they're not supposed to see what else is outside of them. But when you're focusing on the wrong thing, when you're focusing on complaining, when you're focusing on blame, when you're focusing on your own guilt and shame, it's gonna bring in more of that. That's just it's your biology. It's your reticular activating system. It's built into your biology that what you focus on, you feed, and you will start to notice that more in your life.
That's right. And especially when you've actually had, those unfortunate circumstances that have happened, this is the thing, life will always throw you to spanners. And look at this with this whole, corona. Life will always throw you spanners, and then you'll be often throwing yourself spanners too. The self-sabotage from the psychological point of view, the unconscious, and then even sometimes the conscious. When we're looking at being in business and entrepreneurship, there are so many facets that we need to try to. And look, we can't get everything perfect, but there's so many other facets in both our personal life as well as our professional life that we need to really get on top of, so that we can achieve those ultimate life goals. So that when life throws you those spanners, you've got those basic sort of skills that you can bear down on and, reach deep for, and look at, doing the whole pivot, which everyone's doing at the moment. And look, sometimes, it's interesting that some people can be thrown these spanners, and people say, but I don't have that skill. Well, you do a lot of the times, not everyone, not all the time, but a lot of the times, yes, but it's a parallel. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. What, if you really boil down to what is it that helped you get through it in the past, you can actually build on that and help you now, which I think, helps give us a little bit of segue into your favorite topic here, that which you'll talk about shortly, about how people can really step up to and build upon those various different skills, abilities, perception to help them to achieve, to do well.
Yeah, for me, I like to say I'm a professional pattern recognizer. So, for example, one of my clients, we were dealing with an issue with people pleasing, of a desire to please her team, and like really she wanted to please them, but it was also at the detriment of herself. And so we were dealing with this commonality, and the people pleasing wasn't really the issue. When we chunked up, it was the lack of vision that she had for her company. It was a lack of like long-term vision. So she was sacrificing, like she was getting that short-term pleasure with that immediate, like, oh, people pleasing. Oh, they now like me. Oh, they really they appreciate me, but suffering in the long term.
Yeah.
The same thing was happening with her business. She would make short-sighted decisions, that gave her a little boost, a little ego boost in the beginning, but in the long term were causing greater suffering. And so when we could identify that pattern, that allowed her to shift and start questioning, because we all have to go through those 4 learning stages. And once we're aware of it, which is key, once we're aware of a pattern, then you can't really unlearn that you have that pattern. And so you may start so you'll go through the first stage is total unconscious incompetence, where you just have no idea what you don't know. The second stage, though, is when like a coach or or someone or a friend or a mentor gives you a little bit of perspective, and you see something that you're doing And so you're in that state of conscious incompetence, where you may make the mistake, or you may make a choice, and then you recognize, oh, that's probably not, that's based on that old pattern. It's probably a choice that I should make in some different way. And so then you reevaluate, or you change it, or you recognize it. But sometimes that's recognizing it after the fact.
Yeah.
Then you move into that next stage where it's becoming a little bit more natural, where you catch yourself before you make the mistake. You're like, oh yeah, there's that old pattern where it's doing that thing that I wanted to people please. I wanted to, do that, make that short-sighted decision, not considering my long-term vision. And you know what? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to this person. It's going to not, it's going to hurt them possibly. But what if instead, for the long term, it's actually better for that person, because they're, maybe it's in terms of like firing an employee who's underperforming, and you don't want to hurt their feelings in the beginning, but in the long term, that's not good for you, and you also know that's not good for them, because they're not learning a lesson where that maybe getting fired or getting let go of would actually teach them, where it's like, oh yeah, I got to get my stuff together too. And so that allows that long-term vision, and recognizing that pattern is essential. And once you're at the stage where you recognize the pattern before you make the mistake, that changes the game. Then you start changing who you are. Then you start changing your identity. I went through the same process through recovering from bulimia. When I was bulimic, I would revert to my old pattern. So I would vomit up my food after and then recognize, oh yeah, probably shouldn't have done it. Not a really healthy choice. And then it started, and then I would assess, well, why did I do it? What were my triggers? Okay, so I was triggered by loneliness, or I was triggered by a feeling of anxiety, or I was triggered by this. Okay, feeling those feelings. Okay, great. So then it started to create that awareness, so I would recognize it before I wanted to go throw up my food, and I would say, oh, okay, I'm feeling anxious. I really feel like doing that thing, that natural subconscious habit that was just natural to me after 10 years. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to stop. I'm going to choose a different way, because you can always make a new choice. You just have to be aware of what are the old choices you were making that weren't serving you, because everything you thought, everything you felt, everything of who you are has served you to get you to this point. But to get to the next level, and whether it's in your business, or in your finances, or in your body, or in your relationships, it's going to require a different way of thinking, a different way of feeling, a new version of you. And so it's constantly asking that question, what is the new version of me that I need to step into? What does she or he think or believe? What maybe it's, oh, this person, the new version of me, the person who's making X amount of income that I want to be making, well, she believes that money always flows in easily and effortlessly. Like, she's got passive income streams in place. She's got, whatever it is that you feel like, she believes that. Well, where are you with that belief? Do you believe that right now? Do you believe that, oh, money is scarce, it's tight, we got to, hunker down because people aren't spending? Well, then there's a gap then. There's a gap of identity. So we need to shift and start working on, how do we shift that identity into who you want to be, having the beliefs, having the thoughts and the feelings, which create the habits, which create the actions, which create the behavior that eventually changes and allows and creates massive shift and transformation.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what was the fourth stage? You covered the 1, 2, 3. The fourth stage.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. So the fourth stage is unconscious competence, where basically you just are. That is the new identity, where it's, you do it so easily and effortlessly that you're like, whoa, haven't I always done this? Like, for me, I had to remember who I was. So I had to strip away all the doubt and the disbelief and the questioning of my capability or my ability to figure things out. And I had to remember who I was, which was the person who makes bold ass decisions, quick decisions, and who makes audacious requests and then jumps, jumps all in. I had to remember that version of me. That was who I used to be. Then I adopted some plagiarized programming, as I call it, where you're taking other people's limitations, other people's fears, other people's doubts, and you're accepting them as your own, which is just plagiarized programming. And then I had to strip that away. And then once that was stripped away, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just, yeah, like, of course I'm going to grow my business. Of course, where it just becomes so natural. It's as natural as breathing for you.
I love that term, plagiarized programming. Oh, that is so good.
You know?
Because you can really look at, well, when you're a mum, and you often believe, or I was very, very strong with the belief that, it's all around programming with your child. But certainly I did find out that there is still quite a lot that they're actually still born with. There's the whole genetics, every child, you can still bring them up the same way and they're all still very quite different. But so there is the conditioning that goes on around the place, but there is also who they are as an individual. And I often say to people, yeah, look, if you were to take away everything that you've learned to go back to who really you are as an essence and then build upon that. So it can really help empower you. But for some people, that's a huge, huge journey. And often can be very, very difficult. And especially when they're already in business and already having the stress and the all the various things that they have to do while they're actually in business and keep everything going rather than sort of have time out. So
Well,
what
and
would
that's
be
why I
some of
also
your
believe in really understanding what is the business that you're really in. Because I look back, and why I say that all of my past businesses have made so much sense now is that I've been in the same business. It's just been in different forms. So I look back to what I was doing as a screenwriter. I was transforming stories. I was writing stories of transformation of people who went from being one way to going through some challenges to becoming something new. In my Pilates, I was transforming people's stories about their bodies, about what was possible for their bodies, about what was possible for their, like, whether it was for weight loss or for toning or for, just physical moving again. Like if I was doing a rehabilitation for post-pregnancy or post-spinal. So that would allow me to, like, I transform people's stories about people's bodies. In my e-commerce business, I was transforming people's stories about their back pain and via this device. Now, each one has had different forms as to how they manifested. But now in my business now, that's exactly what I do. I transform people's stories around their money and their finances and their business and growth and how they can do it all, in essence, with a family, with kids, staying from home, transforming people's stories. One of my favorite quotes from Tony Robbins is, the only thing that's keeping you from having what you want is a story as to why you don't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is so powerful. Because people can sort of go, but it's still, there's still choices. You still have a lot of choices at the end of the day as to whether you're really going to let that be or not. And sometimes, I've had times where I've grappled with that a little bit, and my young one being a little bit on the spectrum, just mildly. And so I've had to really sort of go, okay, stop with, I can't do this, I can't do that because of, well, all right, but it's still a choice. So am I going to make the choice of put, some years on hold there or not? And so then if I do that, well, then after that, then how am I going to leverage that and go fully beyond, and what I can do and just work on other things in the meantime and just help other people in the meantime. And that's what I did do. So, sometimes some people do need to put certain parts on hold because it might not be the right timing for them, and they can certainly do other things because it's all about, like you said, you're still doing the same thing. It's often it's a transferable skill. It's not always recognized that they can actually take it from one vehicle to another vehicle.
And I mean, it's super powerful. I was speaking with at EmpowerCon not recently, but it's a convention that was happening last year, and I'm on the leadership board for it this year. We'll see if it happens with everything going on with social distancing. But I got to speak on the same stage as Michael Uslan, he was the executive producer of Batman, of all the racing Batman. So $1 billion franchise. He was the one who brought this story to life from the like 1960s Kung Pao, like wham, bam, like comedic version of Batman to the more dark version that we see today.
Yeah.
And the one that has like a lot of like that. I freaking love superhero movies. Like those movies to me, I love the soul and the humanity behind them, and really studying
Yes.
people's stories.
Yeah.
But I was speaking on stage and with him, and he was on there, and it took him 10 years to get Batman. Like he got turned down by everyone.
Wow.
He said a question that he constantly asked himself was, how is this the best thing that ever happened to me? How is this the best thing? And I was like, oh, that is a really good question.
That's
So
good.
every time you're faced with a struggle or a challenge, how is this the best thing that ever happened to me?
Yeah.
When COVID hit, when social distancing and quarantining was like, and we were all like required to quarantine, I was like, how is this the best thing that ever happened to my business, to me, to my family? Like, we've grown so much closer as a family. We've been really focused on just having a good schedule with being able to take time with Declan, with my son, and to be able to have that balance between my husband and I, because we don't have the support of grandma and grandpa nearby anymore. We were able to like, my clients have just been killing it with innovation, but that's because I asked them the same question. How is this the best thing that ever happened? So I've seen my clients who have event-based businesses, many of them, and they went from like going from their best months ever in February to their worst months ever to now back up again. And it's because they innovated fast. It's because they shifted fast. It's because they asked themselves, how is this the best thing that ever happened? And they said, oh, because now it's making me have to take all of my trainings and certifications and things online, which means I can make it be evergreen, which means I can actually make more money and serve more people by having it be in this form. But that was a plan that they hadn't had in place until like necessity drove it. Necessity is just, it's always the mother of invention. Like
invention, that's right.
We're now in a place where we have a necessity, especially as business owners and entrepreneurs, because this is a big one that I've been like a big story that I've been shifting with my clients, is the story of, I don't know if I should sell right now. Like, I don't know, like people are suffering their struggle. And I said, if you don't know if you should sell right now, you should get out of business.
That's right.
Period. Because because the first thing about business is providing a solution for a problem.
That's right.
Like, that's what all of us entrepreneurs do. We provide a solution for a problem. If you are not providing a solution by selling your products and services, and by you doing that, you are actually continuing the flow of the economy, which is the ebb and flow of money. Like, by not selling your products and services, you're actually doing the people who need that solution a disservice. And so if you're not going to sell your products and services, get out of business.
That's right.
Because it's our job, I believe, as entrepreneurs to step up and lead, especially now. So if you teach, and it doesn't matter what type of business you have, your business is providing a feeling, it's providing a solution in some way. Even if you sell scarves on Etsy, like that business, that your scarf may provide someone the feeling of comfort and warmth around their neck when they're feeling suffocated by fear. And you are doing a massive disservice to them and to you if you do not sell them that scarf when they have established that they have value for them.
That's right.
And the same is true if you're an entrepreneur or a coach or a consultant right now. Like, show up and sell your services and sell your products, because people are in need, and we are the drivers of the economy. We are the drivers that are allowing for that ebb and flow. And because so many businesses right now are struggling and suffering because they've been from brick and mortar, like, it's our job to help pivot.
That's right. Definitely, small business owners and entrepreneurs, we are the ones that contribute to jobs. For that scarf, someone's had to make that scarf, and there's all the various different components a part of that. We help build the micro economies. We help put more jobs happening. And if we've got more of the microeconomy working, then our macroeconomy works. Our macroeconomy can only work if our microeconomy is all the time at work. So with having entrepreneurs that tend to be a little bit more of the leaders in that space, because they're the ones that take the more risks. and they're often looking for the extra avenues of income and the extra, sorts of streams that are happening there as far as any type of income, as well as, the various incomes in their business, but, anything really. And it helps with a lot of small business owners who have been bricks and mortar, looking now this particular time. This is it's a bittersweet pill, unfortunately, the corona, with a lot of the unfortunate things that are happening. On the same token, it's forcing people to be innovative, as far as business owners are concerned, innovative, and to look at other ways of how else can they do business in this time. What if bricks and mortar never comes back, or if it does, but in the meantime still surviving, and how to really have that entrepreneurial spirit come alive, because that is about
how can you prevent it in the future.
Yeah, it's all about the future. We can't live in the past. We can learn from the lessons. We live in the present, but we only live in the present for every minute. For the next upcoming minute, that's the future. So we can have an impact on the very near immediate future as well as the longer term future. We have to be living in the future. We can live in this present at the moment, every single minute that goes by, but that's it. So the energy and the spirit and the hope, this is the time that we need to come together and keep going and keep helping each other to how to evolve, because we need our future to be there. Otherwise, we're just not going to survive as a species. But the thing is that this has been a part of humanity over and over and over since the day dot. We are really good at adapting and evolving. So it's about, helping one another to be more positive and how to achieve. Absolutely. You get me going again.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I think one of the big myths that I've seen is like the struggle, like the fear of, there are a lot of people who are losing their business. Like that is a reality.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's a big myth that I've been seeing with people who want to get into entrepreneurship, where they're like, I don't know, it's not stable. You're right.
Yeah.
The skill set that you build, though, is stable.
That's right.
Like no job is stable. Like so many people are losing their jobs.
Yep.
No job is stable, just like no business is technically stable. You can stabilize it, though, if you're at the helm and if you're leading it. And the skill set that you build as an entrepreneurship will serve you in the skill set of learning branding, marketing, building your systems, sales and selling. That skill set can never be taken away. So even if you lose your business, you still have a skill set that you can rebuild. Because when you know the business that you're really in, like when I lost my e-commerce company, I didn't know the business that I was really in. I thought I was in an e-commerce business, but I realized, oh my gosh, I'm in the business of transforming people's stories. So even if any sort of thing happened, if I needed to start a new business of some sort, I knew that business, again, in whatever form it was, would be transforming people's stories. When you know what business you're in, you can take the skill set that you gained from the last one and apply it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so beautiful, but absolutely. And, there's so many people that are doing it. So if we're and have done it over centuries even. So when we're sort of feeling very lost and we want to look towards our formidable leaders, what is it that they're doing? It's really recognizing what is the very, very big picture that they're doing, as well as to come into the detail. And that is so beautiful how, you've pitched that for us to be able to see it in a different light, in a different perspective. And ultimately it is about then owning it, about stepping up and having true ownership in every single way that you look at things and you perceive things, and then what you do with it.
And especially because ownership is not blame. A lot of times I've seen with a lot of high achievers, they take ownership as meaning I am at fault. No. You may have caused certain things to happen by certain actions that you took, but blame it has so many negative emotions, and it's an insidious mindset to be in that will affect every single area of your life. Not sexy. and that includes blaming yourself. And so that's why when you forgive yourself for the mistakes that happened, if let's say if you did lose your business or something happened, and because of this whole COVID and businesses shutting down, if that happened, sometimes I see a lot of high achievers kicking themselves for didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I innovate? Why didn't I have other streams of passive income going so that I could sustain? That mentality keeps you stuck in the past. Blame keeps you stuck in the past. This does not keep you in the present moment. And in order for you to serve the people that you serve and to move forward, to move beyond, forgive yourself for anything, everything, and then allow yourself to say, okay, that happened. What's next? What's next? That happened. What's next? Yeah. And keep that momentum and that movement.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's a drop the mic thing. Whoa, so profound. I'm getting the sunshine come up, and it's such a profound thing for the beginning of the day. The sun is coming out and going,
Sonia, I told the sun to come all the way from the Gold Coast to just
Thank you
shine.
So much. We like that. We do like it to peep out every now and then here in Melbourne because we don't get a lot of it. Oh gosh, you have shared so many pearls of wisdom there, so many ideas. There's so many in your story too. A lot of people can say, oh yeah, I've gone through that. Oh yeah, no, I've recognized that. Okay, so this is now how I can move forward. This is, or at least go, okay, there is the light at the tunnel, or up there, the light at the end of the tunnel.
A literal light at this moment. It's going down.
People just listening on the podcast, I'm getting the sun come and join me in my eyes in a minute. It's like,
it looks glorious. You look angelic. Like
positive. Look at that. Yes, half my face is gone. Good timing. It's all about life. It's about timing.
Right?
Totally. And we attract it. We do attract it. So be careful what you're putting out there, because what you'll be attracting back. Absolutely. And it's all about energy, and life is about timing. Life is, it's the energy that you bring forward, and it's the hope, and it's keep moving forward. Yes, there's a lot of horrible things that can happen. Yes, there's tragedy that can happen too. And we've got two choices how we look at it. Victim or victor, as I often say, and okay, even you can have a little bit of time for a bit of downtime, but then move forward into victor, and how can I keep moving forward to help others, to be of service to others? Because if I'm being of service to myself, then I can be of service to others. And that can be just even our loved ones.
A good champion story.
Sorry?
Like everyone loves a good champion story.
Yeah.
So if you think of every movie that pretty much everybody loves, the movies that we root for, that we cheer for, they go through challenges. They got stuff that happens to them, and it sucks, and they get down. But we all love someone because we all see that within us, that there is that capacity, that ability to rise up. And so sometimes we talk about perspective shifts. If you can think of where you are in the story, in the movie of your life, is it an epic movie right now in this moment where you're in that scene where you're putting your nose to the grindstone and you're not sure if it's going to work, but it always works out, because of course it always works out in Act 3. But you're in that moment where you're like, I don't know, it seems like all is lost, and then that's when it happens. That's when change happens.
That's
but
right.
Look at your life from that perspective of, where am I in this movie right now that's going down in my life? Because you are the hero of your film, but nobody goes to a film that's like the hero's got everything kind of easy, or they're constantly complaining, constantly blaming, and constantly negative. You turn that movie off if it ended and you were like, wow, that was it? That was it, really?
Yeah, it was a fizzer.
But when you see a movie that you see that person, maybe they're stuck in a bit of blaming and complaining, but then they go through a transformation. They get a guide to help them along the way. They start the practice and they start moving forward, and then they achieve. In the end, they do achieve. And it's your choice to say, what's the end of my movie going to be for this one? You can always have a sequel too. But like, what's for the movie that is you going through this process of wherever you are in your business, what is the end of that movie going to look like? Is it going to look like that amazing news story of, you had that doubt, you had that fear, maybe you lost your business, but then suddenly, there's that ending movie shot where you're standing in front of your newly reopened brick and mortar business and a totally new thing that totally just fulfills you and lights you on fire.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you're in this, like the ending scene of your movie is you being in a one-on-one session with a client that you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel so called to do this work. I feel so called to serve in this way. Like, this is why I was put here, to go through this stuff in my life, all that stuff and that crap, because that happened for me so I could serve these new people as well. Like, when you see that ending movie scene, hold on to that and work toward that. Because when you have that picture in your mind, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between something vividly imagined and something that actually happened. And so when you can pinpoint that thing that you actually want to happen, that is vividly imagined of you succeeding in whatever way success looks like for you. Maybe it's sitting on the couch with your loved ones and really enjoying that quality time. Maybe it's out there winning an award for what you do. Maybe it's out there, giving a speech to thousands of people because you believe that you were made to stand out and have a voice. Whatever it is, hold that picture in your mind like crystal clear, because that is the end of that volume of that movie. And then after that, you can always have a sequel.
Exactly. I'm thinking sequels, chronicles. Yeah.
There's so many sequels, but look at, like, for this period, what is this period of where you are in your movie? And when you hold that picture, that's the finale. That's the grand finale.
Beautiful.
And then you have a sequel for the next goal.
Yeah.
Dream, right?
Yeah. Just go get another cup of coffee and let's just start again. Let's do another movie. I love that. I love the whole analogy of it as a movie. I'm such a movie person. I love it. I dream in movies. I see movies, evolve in my head. I love it. So I
the personal development world, that I think sometimes we get a lot of, like, caught up in self-help books and, like, doing another course and doing this, it's all the work. But I'm like, your subconscious mind speaks in stories. It speaks in pictures and metaphors. And so for me, like, my motivation, like, if I'm needing an upper, I don't go to, like, a course. I go to The Greatest Showman. That's my favorite movie of all time. So I like, and the stories that we have, the stories of that triumph, the stories that ignite that fire within us, that we come out and we're like, with the Rockies, the Lord of the Rings, that we're cheering for the hero, reminding ourselves that we can cheer for ourselves too.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, you just reminded me too, that Lord of the Rings, I got a little bit of it over the whole crying thing. Oh, Frodo, and I was like, oh, come on. I want to
We all have our
now.
weak moments, let's be honest.
But you know what? Also too, people don't want to be around people who are always going to be crying. So, like, we do need to be reflective and make sure that we are putting out the best of who we are, and if we really want to attract the best to us. So it's so many stories and pearls of wisdom in what you've given us. Oh gosh, that's so good. Epic. That's why you are a film writer as well. I love it. Can't wait to see what your next one is. That's what
me too. I mean, it's interesting because I was having a conversation with one of my clients who was letting go of one of his careers that wasn't really aligned. Because with working with high achievers, as my mentor Brendan Burchard says, achievement is not the problem, alignment is. And, like, for me, I look back at my e-commerce company, I'm like, while I achieved a lot, it really wasn't aligned. It was aligned because it served a purpose as to where I am now, but it wasn't aligned because of looking at, there were so many signs along the way that I could have picked up on, but I just chose not to. And so one of my clients was dropping one of his careers, and he was, like he really loved it. He loved it. He'd been doing it for years, but he just had this calling for this greater purpose. And I
Yeah.
said, look, if it's meant to be in your life, it will come back. You do have to set it free. And I
Yeah.
have always had the feeling and the gut intuition that movies and screenwriting and cinema is going to come back. The timing is not up to me.
No.
The timing is totally not up to me, but it's going to come back. But I had to let it go and follow my curiosity so that when the timing is right, it's going to be freaking epic.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. I love it. Hold on.
You have to be willing to let it go so
That's
that you
right.
can allow for that space and that ebb and flow
That's
of,
right.
of more curiosity, of more depth. Because now I know that when I write my next screenplay, it's going to have so much more depth and meaning, and it's going to have so much more clarity as to what my overall mission is, which is transforming people's stories.
Yep. Always say, when the tides go out, be ready for when it comes in. And if it's going out quite a long way, you better be ready. You hang on, get those boats organized and ready. And as and listeners, what I also said to Kimberly prior is like, I cannot wait to see what's going to be coming around the corner for Kimberly's going to be doing and into her future with her life. Oh my goodness. If she's had such a colourful life now already, gosh, the future, holy. I think we better go and get the signatures from you because you might end up becoming super, super famous. Of course you are.
You.
No, might. Of course you are. That's nice. And which then does ask me to say, prompts me to now say, actually, what is going to be on the horizon for you in 2020 and beyond?
So I have had this book that has been on my heart and on my soul and like 90% done for like 5 years. And it is now in a space where I am now in a space literally where I am quarantined, which I think the universe and divine timing is basically saying you sit your butt down and you finish that freaking thing because it needs to come out into the world. And it is the exact strategies, the tools that I use to reprogram my mindset from a 10-year battle with bulimia. But the tools serve just as much for healing your relationship with your business. I mean, when I wrote for Forbes, my article was called "Are you in an It's Complicated Relationship with Your Business?" And for years, I've been in an It's Complicated Relationship with my body. I've been in its complicated relationship with actual relationships. I've been in its complicated relationship with my business and with my money. So it applies to everything. So you can read the book even if you haven't gone through the struggle of body image issues and eating disorder like I did. You can read the book for very strong, amazing, high performance tools, but also deep mindset shifts that allow for that shift in identity, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And so when you can learn how to master and discipline your mind so that you know how to change your identity into what you want, because so often we're so focused on what we don't want, but this book helps you really laser in on what is it that you want. How do you want to feel in your future? How is it that you want to feel in your life and in your body, specifically in your body? But the same is true for in your business. And so that book is coming out this summer, and I'm very excited. It is finally coming out into the world. And
we just had
my body, my soul, everything is basically saying, like, you have to sit my butt down and finish it. Like it is being finished. And that I'm so excited about. And along with my membership program, which is in the same vein of just really honing in on the mindset and the mind-body connection of how your physiology directly impacts what's going on with your brain and with your mind, and vice versa, how your mind directly affects what's going on with your body. Because it is not like two separate things. We are holistic beings, and how everything, like the whole topic of this conversation, like how we view one thing, how we show up in another. And so that's what I'm very excited for this book, and for just serving my clients to the next level and serving them through this time is something I'm so excited for.
Beautiful.
And honestly, for live events to come back, because we had originally set a goal for every month to do a live event in my company, and we got up to March, and then
I'm missing them because I really like being live with people and getting that energy. And it's fabulous that we can do this, say, through Zoom and get that energy happening that way. But there's nothing that beats the live events, really.
Yeah, just a vibe of being in the community of like-minded people and
Yeah. Yeah.
challenging each other and growing each other and championing and cheerleading each other like together. It just creates such a beautiful, strong bonds. Like I was so blessed that met with my private clients, we go to High Performance Experience, and we were able to go in February, and the bond that was created by my clients within their own like ecosystem was so extraordinary to see, and to see that being cultivated. Just greatness, iron sharpens iron, greatness sharpens greatness, and like that they are just, I still see them like still texting each other because I'm still on the texting feed. Like they're still championing and challenging and growing and reaching out for support, because that is what is so necessary in these times. Like finding that support network who just make success, make happiness, make joy, make feeling vibrant seem normal. Because that it's so easy to get pulled. Like our brains are so easily pulled into fear because we're wired that way. We're wired to survive. So finding and surrounding yourself with people who raise you up, who lift you up, who champion you, who say, oh my gosh, you want to hit your first $1 million a year this year? Of course you can. Duh. Like that's, oh, you're only going for $1 million? Really? Like that's the people that you want to to surround yourself with and lean on in this time. Like as my husband said when we've had our first date together, which made me know that he was the one 1,000,000%, was he said, this is what a relationship is. And I was like, oh my God, you were a cheerleader too. Because when you throw someone in the air, you're supporting them like this, and then you raise them higher. And that is what your show does. That is what the people who you bring on does. And I am just so honored to be a part of this show and what you're doing in the world, Sonia. You are phenomenal and helping people prosper.
Oh, thank you. It's been a passion of mine for so long, and I've been doing it on the sideline. And like I said, I've had challenges and things like that, and now it's my time to really step up and to really bring this on a much bigger global scale, and to then reach out and find so many beautiful people, and certainly you. I mean, when I like I said prior, is like, oh my gosh, I got to interview you. It's so wonderful, and always been about helping other people, and I know that it helps them to help continue, the whole pay it forward. My whole ethos, I've just touched the microphone. My whole ethos is about paying it forward, because it comes back to you in lots of different ways, and sometimes we don't always recognize how it comes back to us, but this is how we can help us as individuals to grow and to be the better of what we can be, because humans, we can be they can be a bit ugly sometimes, so we don't want that, and also for our future, so thank you. And look, I really, really thank you for being part of this. Absolutely. You've shared so many interesting insights and tips and strategies. People are going to be wanting to replay this over and over and over and see how can they apply this into their current situation and into their future, which is so, and that's still only an eye-opener into, what can happen and what you can do, certainly. What we didn't catch though, is the title of your book.
Mindful Meals: How to Dethrone Food Fears and Reign in a Body That Rules.
Oh, can you say that again?
Mindful Meals: How to Dethrone Food Fears and Reign in a Body That Rules.
Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely a lot of food for thought.
Literally food for thought. And it's great because it's not a diet, eat this, not that book. Like that book's been written, and it's been written about 1 million times.
Yeah.
And this is really 100% around the mindset of your body and the relationship that you have with your body and the relationship that you have with food. And it is from over 12 years of research and personal research and experience, and working with clients and working with hundreds and hundreds of people's bodies and minds, and seeing the commonalities between everyone, and seeing the same thing with people's bodies as I have with people's bank accounts. is that it doesn't matter whether like it's really fat or really thin. It matters how you think about it.
Absolutely.
Because I've had clients that had, amazing, nearly like to my mind, perfect bodies that are like, oh, it's not this, it's not this, it's not enough, it's not this, it's not. I'm like, they're showing me, literally showing me pictures of women that they want to look like. And I'm like, you realize you look like this already, right? But they didn't realize it in their minds. I've had the same thing happen with clients who are going for like big number goals. And they're like, oh, I only made $500,000 last year. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's look at what is the deep underlying belief in that. And we really dive into what that is, where it doesn't matter how fat or thin your bank account is either. It matters how you think about it. And it matters about your mindset around it. And the more you think about it in a positive, forward-thinking, grateful, appreciative, celebratory way, the more you're going to recognize it and love it. And that applies for both your body, your bank account, your business, your clients, your relationship, because what you appreciate appreciates.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you rounded that off beautifully. Because it does. It affects all the different parts of because it's all mindset. It affects all the different parts of your personal life and professional life. And then how you can be able to move forward. Yeah. Beautiful. Lovely. Thank you. So before we do a quick sign off, do you have an offer for our listeners?
I do. I have my Heal Your Money Beliefs workbook and mini training. So this is a workbook that I work through with my Revolutionary Empire Builders membership. And I tested it with them. And the training,
have been guinea pigs.
They were totally my guinea pigs and they loved it. So I was like, I cannot not offer this to more people because it was so valuable. And it's basically looking at what is your success strategy, your deep subconscious success strategy for one area of your life where you feel really, really good and where you feel solid and where you've just got it down, where it's easy, it's as natural as breathing. And then we look at how do you shift the identity for something that you're not maybe as much of a fan of, or maybe you don't feel there's enough like specifically around money. And we look at how you can heal those money beliefs to have them really operate in your unique subconscious success strategy. And it's a good 45-minute training with a workbook as well. So dive in, enjoy it, do the work, and I guarantee it will change your life. Guaranteed.
Fabulous. So exciting. I love learning. So I'm going to check that out too. I'm going to
do it too. And let me know what you think about it. Be my guinea pig.
And then I'll give you feedback.
Yes. Bring on the feedback.
I thank you so much for offering that to people. It's really beautiful because it's certainly going to help, and then they can then pay it forward and help others. So I really, really thank you for that. So thank you once again for joining us. Is there any last minute things you might want to say before we say see you later?
Yeah, if you love this episode, please hit me up on Instagram on the DM or shoot a message to info@crownyourself.com and my team will forward it over to me. On Instagram, I'm Kimberly.Spencer. And if you like cheeky quotes about entrepreneurship that challenge you and lead you into your highest and best, definitely follow at Crown Yourself Now, which is my company profile as well. And you can hit me up on either one of those. I love seeing your DMs about the episodes and shows that I get to contribute to. And I would love to hear your top takeaways from this episode. So hit me up there.
Yeah, beautiful. Lovely. Hit us up both, definitely. And I love the cheeky quotes, so I'll definitely get on that too. Thank you so much. And we'll say see you later then. Thank you. Bye-bye.